It's been you, woman, right down the line. And that is a song I've had in my head for 8 months, 7 months. My friend Sandro made a video with him and I on Instagram in December and used that song. And it's just been sitting in my brain, and I sing it probably 100 times a day. But I'm fine with it. I don't mind when a song is stuck in my head if it's a great one. Also, something super weird has happened. I have my notes up on my computer just because I have so many incredible things I want to talk through today. But I have these pinned notes, and I unpinned one and then didn't want it to be unpinned and kind of did it by accident. And then somehow it just went back and I didn't touch anything. So I think my computer is magic, so that's pretty cool. But that is all besides the point. Got an interesting category of things I want to talk through today. And bear with me because I think this subject is just tough for me to articulate my thoughts around, because sometimes it's tough to even know what I think about it because the category is thinking and observing. So I was watching this podcast, or I was listening to Oz Perlman. He's some mentalist guy. He was on Joe Rogan. So I listened to it because I saw a bunch of clips on Instagram. And it was some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, this guy guessed Joe Rogan's bank pin. It was ridiculous. But I wanted to read essentially what he said kind of near the beginning of the podcast. He said, if you simply remember something from 2 years ago, people think you have superhuman memory. So basically he was talking about doing all these performances where maybe he'll talk to a celebrity on a talk show and then he'll come back a couple years later and he'll just remember some details about them. He'll bring up something about their kids or their family or something they were working on, and they think it's absolutely insane, but he just remembered something. And I don't know what it is. I think if you ask nearly anybody how good their memory is, they're going to say it's bad. For some reason, people love to say, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. And it's become some sort of a cultural tagline of just, my memory sucks. I don't remember this. I can't even remember this. And that actually plays into how well your memory works. I definitely want to get into that. But I want to kind of break down this idea of memory because it goes into intention. So memory here I have written down is a massive part of being skilled, detail-oriented, successful, and fulfilled. Because if you're going to act on purpose in your life, you can't forget what's important to you. So all of the time I have conversations with my clients that I work with, and we'll talk about memory because everything comes down to purpose if you're trying to achieve something. And then in difficult times, how well can you remember what actually matters to you? So I might have a conversation with somebody that says they want to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. And I would say, well, why? And they might go, well, because I want to start off the day with that great momentum. I want to be disciplined. I see some freaking dude on Instagram do it every day, so I want to do it too. Whether the answer to that question is super valid or not, it really comes down to, okay, well, the next morning at 5, are they going to remember this list of things they brought up that are so beneficial, to waking up at 5 a.m, or are they going to forget? And with the overwhelm of being tired and not wanting to wake up and having that heavy feeling, most people forget. So memory, I don't know, to me it kind of seems like this characteristic that people think is just fleeting. And maybe when you're young, you have a good memory and you just start to lose it over time. Some people have really good memory. Some people don't have really good memory. Very similar to how I talk about confidence. People see this in the same exact way. Oh, you're just ascribed a certain level of confidence when you're born, and some people don't have confidence. So to put it simply, I think that perspective is absolute bullshit because there are very clear ways that you can improve your memory. Now, I'm not super well versed in all of these practical little mental exercises you can do to improve your memory, but I know one thing, which is intention. So if someone tells you their birthday and you go, oh, okay, it's July 10th, cool. And you just go about your day. In a few weeks, they'll say, oh, when's that person's birthday? And you might have no idea. You probably forget the whole thing. If that person said July 10th, you go, July 10th, July 10th, July 10th. That's 6 days after the 4th of July. 6 days after the 4th of July. 6 days is one less day than a week. July 10th, July 10th, July 10th. And then the next day you wake up and go, oh yeah, when was that person's birthday? What did I say? Oh, a week minus 1 day past the 4th of July. Okay, July 10th. And you ingrain that into your brain. A few weeks later, somebody's going to say, oh, when's that person's birthday? And you'd say July 10th. Because you put intention behind it. You built purpose, for whatever reason, into remembering that date. So I think intention is probably the biggest way to improve your memory. Often I'll be in these conversations with the people I work with and say, okay, if you claim that your memory is bad, here's my advice. Improve your memory. How? Remember things better. There's a certain point in any sort of advice where you can't advise any further. It's already condensed down to its simplest form, and now you have to simply act on it. Oh, I have a bunch of stuff that I need to remember to do tomorrow. Okay, you can make lists, you can put reminders, you can make little sticky notes, whatever you need to do. Again, it's always going to come back down to remembering even to do any of those things. So just remember. It always feels so funny when I provide that kind of advice, because I feel like I need to give somebody the gray area advice, meaning you choose or you decide that you need to remember something, and then this weird gray area of memory, and then actually acting on that. That gray area is just somebody's willingness, again, intention, and that I can't really prescribe for anybody. If you want to improve your memory, remember shit better. That's as simple as I can put it, and it's something that you can do if you want it bad enough, if you care about enough, if there's a good purpose behind it. I believe in that wholeheartedly. So this is why, again, I come back to this idea of everybody says, I have a bad memory. Dude, saying that is what causes that. I'm not confident. I'm lazy. I'm irresponsible. You could say any of these stupid ass things about yourself, and then they're going to become more and more true, because you're going to say it, you're going to act on it, you're going to think it, you're going to tell it to other people. Other people are going to think that of you and start to expect that of you. And what the hell do you think happens when you keep doing that? That's the kind of person you become. Now, are you just going to wake up every day and say, I'm a wealthy, rich person with peak intelligence, and then it just happens without actually doing something about it? Of course not. That would be delusional to think that. But in the same sense, the ideas that you speak to yourself and speak out loud continue to circle around in your brain. And again, your behavior is based on those thoughts. If you're happy and excited, your day is probably going to be more full of taking care of yourself, doing the right thing. I mean, you could say it's kind of a long shot and it's a little bit out there, but not really, because what you speak has a major and almost direct effect on what the heck you do. So a lot of things to keep in mind there. Now, something that I have been obsessed with for quite a while now is this idea of intense looking and listening. So I was in the living room, and one of my roommates, Luke, he was scrolling on Instagram, and he had the audio on so I could hear just the sounds of the videos he was watching or the photos or whatever. And I heard maybe half a second of a song, and 4 hours later, while I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw someone's post, and it had that song in it, and it was, I think it was Should Have Been a Cowboy. Should Have Been a Cowboy. I don't even know who sings it, but pretty good song, actually. And then the photo was this fitness guy that we follow, and I think he was wearing some sort of cowboy-looking outfit or whatever the heck. And I paid attention enough to where hours and hours later, as he was scrolling, it played a split second, and I said, oh, that was insert fitness guy's post. And he said, yeah, how'd you know that? And I said, well, I just listened to it, and the songs and sounds, I don't know why, but for some reason they stick with me like crazy. If I hear a song, I go, "Oh, that was from that movie," or "That was from this time period in my life where this was going on," and I connect songs with that. So this is why I'm really, really obsessed with just very intense observation, and this will teach you so freaking much about the world around you. It is absolutely crazy. So if you are the kind of person, I'm laughing because I have a funny note written on my computer here. If you're the kind of person that loses your hearing when you're on your phone, as in you're on your phone and you're so ingrained into what's going on the screen that you can't hear someone talking to you, I'm going to jump through this camera and slap your damn face, because that is the tunnel vision is not a good sense of awareness. Now, I could go down the safety route. Oh, if you're not going to be aware of your surroundings, somebody might do something to you, or I don't know. That's definitely very possible. I think in a what you think of yourself kind of way, which is kind of what everything I talk about comes back to. Not even knowing what's going on around you. It's kind of a mindless sort of mindset to have. It's kind of passive, and I talk about it all the time, but those two categories of thinking, or states of mind rather, are not good in nearly any situation. Being a passive person, you'll get taken advantage of, you'll get marketed to with a bunch of bullshit. The list goes on. But having an active mind, being super aware, I think of as a major, major superpower. So I would say building awareness, it's another one of these things, right? How do you build awareness? Become more aware. Pay attention to what the heck is around you. I do this a lot, right? I just watch and listen. When I was in school, the people watching is peak cinema. Oh my gosh. You get to learn so much from how people interact, and the drama that people get caught up in, and the problems that people find themselves in. And you pay attention enough, and it starts to become absolutely ridiculous, to where, first of all, you don't have to make those same mistakes, and you don't have to get caught up in the same bullshit. Second, knowing how people act in, especially an environment like school. I mean, school is so heavily reflective of the average population or the world. I mean, it's kind of just a little sample size of what society looks like. And when you know that front to back, right? When you know what someone's going to say, when you can kind of anticipate how somebody's going to behave, and you can look out for these things, you will be a very, very intelligent and prepared individual. And I feel like I don't really need to explain why that's important. It's just very important. But again, coming back to this idea of building awareness, you just have to pay attention. Don't be the person that gets caught looking down at your phone for 45 minutes straight and you have no idea what's happened around you. That is a crazy way to be. And I'm not the kind of person that says you can't be on your phone at all. If you're at a bus stop or you're waiting at the store, you must sit there and stare at the wall, which honestly, sitting there and staring at the wall is one of my favorite things to prescribe to somebody to reinstate some awareness and calmness of mind. But I'm not saying that's the kind of person you have to be. I go on my phone. I scroll on Instagram. I'll watch videos. I'll message somebody. Maybe I'll edit something while I'm waiting somewhere. It's not that you can't use your phone, but have a bit of social hygiene, to where if you're on your phone, maybe every few moments you look up and look around and know what's going on, and then back to the thing you're reading or looking at. Okay, someone's walking by, maybe see what they're doing. Oh, these people are fighting over here. Okay, cool, take note of that. Just look around and see what's going on. The library of information that can be found in just looking around. It doesn't even need to be the subway in New York. there is a lot to learn in the tiny little moments and the tiny little things that happen around you. And it gives you space to think, I am so big on paying attention in that kind of way. So people are really repetitive. So again, if you know how somebody's going to act, you can anticipate things, you can prepare better, you can have better social interactions, right? People will perceive you as a better individual when you know how to handle yourself, I guess, in any sort of conversation. I just cannot emphasize enough that if you know how to communicate, you know how to receive someone else's form of communication, right? You know how to navigate their personality, and maybe there's 10 personalities out there, and then you see them repeated over and over and over again. Again, people are very repetitive, so you can look and see, oh, I see how that person kind of carries themselves. I know exactly how to interact with this person. What could be better than knowing that, right? What could make you a more socially successful person, right? People wearing headphones constantly. I just have that written in all caps here on my computer, because stop doing that. That's basically my point. If you walk around and you're always just listening to something, that's crazy. You're not going to be getting this free dose of information of the world around you, right? You're not going to be picking up on the cues and all of these little details of human interaction and behavior and communication. Like I've said already 100 times, is the best library of value you could possibly be offered by this world. I've witnessed so many times kind of a disappointing side of people's almost engulfed state with their phone, what they're listening to, where, for example, if I'm at the gym and I see somebody I know and love talking to walk by, and then I call their name and they don't hear me, and then they just leave. Sure, I'll see them the next time. Sure, I'll get to talk to them on another day. Maybe I could send them a message, whatever. But to be within 15 feet of somebody and say, hey, what's up? And they just walk past and they have no idea you're there, and then you miss out on maybe a great conversation or just seeing somebody that you know and like to interact with, which is very fueling for life and energy. I think that's a sad thing, given that something so trivial, like listening to music too loud, gets in the way of that. And, as I'm saying this, it feels a little bit dramatic. Again, you can see them the next time. But again, I think there is something very powerful to be present, to know what's around you. Man, if I knew that somebody called my name, I was 10 feet away and I just walked by them, I would feel ridiculous. I would hate that. I would just feel so disappointed and go, oh man, I wish I hadn't missed out on that conversation. I wish I hadn't been unaware and unable to hear them because my music was too loud at the gym. The gym I go to, the music is too loud anyways, so that's going to be a problem regardless. But that's a big thing over years and years of going to the gym. I think there was a few month period where I tried listening to podcasts and stuff while I was working out, which I think that's great. But I would be squatting. I remember doing 5 sets of 20 squats with 225. This was a few years ago. And I would be listening to a podcast and I would go, is this helping me too much? Because I would feel this great comfort by just having, a smart person's voice talking in my ear. And then, I'm kind of a purist and ridiculous about everything. So I said, maybe this is helping me too much. So I kind of stopped doing that. And I think David Goggins famously talks about not listening to music while he's on runs and stuff, because, when you're in the back of that alley and someone's trying to kill you, where's that music going to be? And yeah, I'm probably not going to find myself in the back of an alley, to be quite honest. But you never know. I might get caught in some trouble, and am I going to need to put my headphones in and play the perfect song to get right and get my energy straight. No. Again, I know I'm speaking ridiculously. All of these things are a little bit out there, but I just live through principle more so than just practical. Sure, you're going to have better workouts if you got some sick music pumping and it gets you stoked, but long term, are you going to be reliant on music to be able to do anything? I know people that to hit a lift, to hit a PR, they need to line up the song to the right moments in the song, not just playing music, but line it up to where when they unrack and then hit the lift, it's on their favorite part. And that to me, I just go, are we freaking serious? You know what I mean? I want to know what my PR is when everyone just shuts the hell up and I can be there with the barbell and see what I can do just from my own soul getting ready to hit a lift. You know what I mean? Again, purist, you don't actually have to listen to me or take up these practices. You know, I don't necessarily do the no music at the gym thing because of the David Goggins reason. It's more so, hey, I just want to be present. I just want to know what I can do and accomplish and how consistent I can be without the constant help of all of these little extra things. I always think about supplements and stuff too. You know, if you're going to hit a lift, but you had 2 Monster Energies beforehand, well, what can you do? And then where does this argument go? Well, you eat food beforehand, and then you can kind of do the reductionist perspective of all these kinds of things. But again, just the extra boost in every little category, I don't love to utilize because I want to know where I'm at, not me plus 10 other things helping. But that's besides the point. That's kind of the performance conversation. What I'm talking about is more of the awareness, just the observation, again, being very present in the environment that you're in. If you are stuck always utilizing the music, listening to something, being distracted, I feel like you just don't get enough time with you, which that's a very important person. If you're listening to this, you got to recognize that, you know, you might care for everybody else and you take care of everyone else's things and you listen to everyone else's perspectives, but you got to know what you think as well. And when you can just get the quiet time and you just look around, and again, this is the value of the staring at the wall exercise, you just get to hang out with yourself and there's enough space to just be honest and you're not always flooded by noise. Because that's what it is. It comes down to everyone else's voice and opinions, and just this influx of information, especially from social media, is just noise. If you can take a moment and quiet the noise, even if you need to pause this podcast for the sake of your betterment, I'm all for it, right? Give yourself that time to take the deep breath. You know what I mean? Take a break from all the noise. Better yet, we'll take 5 seconds right now, 5 breaths if you're listening to this, just to enjoy some peace and quiet. How's that? How good? That was not 5 seconds. That was 5 breaths, each one lasting about 20 freaking seconds there. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is maybe just a little bit of a window into the way my personal mind works, and maybe you resonate with this. Maybe you can learn something from it. Both of those would be great. So music, which I touched on before, I kind of have a very specific tie to the way I hear things, not to try and act like, oh, I'm the chosen one. It's just, that's kind of one of my very strong connections with my environment around me. References, oh my, if I hear someone say anything, my brain just goes on this little search for a reference or a video that I saw or a song that has the line that they said in it. That is an overwhelming part of my brain. And then visual memory too. So when I was really little, even now, I have a lot of very, very strong visual memories of maybe the hallway at school or maybe a certain room in a house. I think a lot of people can resonate with this. And then it's very weird how my sense of smell is super connected to different memories for me. So I'll be walking into a store and I smell a certain perfume and I go, oh, that was that teacher in preschool or something. And it's just very specifically tied to that. But this is something that I think I've noticed of myself and continued to reinforce because, again, this attention to detail I think is a very powerful thing. So I tell myself that, oh, I remember things very well. I always say that my memory is really good. I will emphasize the things that I just mentioned, right? That a lot of the sense of smell or the visual memories or the music, those things I'll carry as a part of my personality. And because, again, I think they're valuable. So that's just something that I continue to remind myself. The Vine references, that's a huge one. So it's not always in this amazing, intelligent category with these references and visual memories and things that I'm mentioning, by the way. A lot of it is some of the stupidest things you've ever heard. A lot of it is just a search for a pun or, to make a joke that probably is just more embarrassing for me to make than anything. But, I think there's something fun about that. And I think being able to tap into a ton of references, expand your vocabulary, kind of work your brain in that abstract way, though it can seem funny and stupid, it's also incredible for any sort of creative pursuit. So, being able to sit here and talk to this camera, not perfectly, of course, I slip up plenty, but being able to just pull words and references and memories and those kinds of things is something I'm constantly working on, but I think I'm decently good at in this kind of setting. Conversations, humor, in a group setting, in time spent with nearly anybody, one of my goals is to be funny and make it a fun and entertaining experience, I guess, because not every conversation has to be ridiculously serious. So I'm a really sarcastic person, but I find that there is a value in that creativity. If you ever get caught in a freestyle rap battle, you got to know how to bring some rhymes and references. That's, funny enough, that's something I've done for nearly my whole life because my dad actually would always make up alternate lyrics to songs while we were listening to them. And so if you ask anybody that is consistently around me, they would tell you that is something I do all of the time. I think I probably sing parody lyrics to songs that I just make up on the spot more so than I sing the actual lyrics to songs. Maybe I'll just do a whole podcast just doing that shit. But the reason I think this is good, valuable, also fun, enjoyable, powerful, whatever we want to say. The reason I think it's a good thing is because you can't buy more storage for your brain, right? So you can't just easily increase how much you can store. I think there is a capacity, but you can increase the capacity by demanding more. So if we take a really simple analogy here, if you demand that your body is able to bear more weight, as in lifting and going to the gym, it's going to have more capacity to lift that weight. So the more that you require your mind hold on to different memories and information, the more it's going to be able to. And what I was talking about earlier with being passive and mindless, you're kind of lowering the processing speed and memory of your mind. And then later on, you're probably going to run into some issues of cognitive decline. And I think I think that's a really big topic that's actually pretty important to talk about, because a lot of people live in fear of their eventual cognitive decline. They think, oh, I'm going to get dementia or Alzheimer's because maybe people in my family did. And I think there are some genetic reasonings behind that, but being passive, right? Not focusing on remembering anything, having a very mindless relationship with the world around you. I think that those are huge signs that you might actually have something like Alzheimer's or dementia, because I think environment is a really big part of those things evolving in someone's body, in someone's mind. So yeah, I think that being active in the way that you think is actually one of the biggest forms of protection to those forms of cognitive decline, which I don't know about you, but I want my mind to stay intact. I want to be able to think clearly and effectively for my whole life. I can't imagine how frightening it must be to be the individual experiencing those issues, as in not remembering things and being confused in simple scenarios. But then think of the people who have family members. I'm sure some of you listening to this have experienced somebody go through that in their life, and that has a major effect, right? Someone losing their memory eventually of their family. That is such a scary thing. So this is why I very, very strongly emphasize thinking. Please, please think. Give yourself the opportunity to sharpen your mind, sharpen your memory, work on these things like your life depends on it, because in some cases it very much does. Also, when you have more awareness of the world around you, when you are more in tune with everything that's going on, you have that intention, you have that awareness, you have the memory, you have the sharpness of your thinking and communication, your control of your outcomes is worlds better than if you did not care about these things. A lot of people who are stuck in shitty situations over and over again, and they're constantly getting taken advantage of, what do you think their mode of thinking is? It's passive, it's mindless. So with that said, I don't want to get too heavy near the end here, but I really give a shit about these things, because people think that the mind is just this weird abstract floaty kind of idea. Oh, it's my mindset, it's my thinking, whatever. That doesn't have the biggest impact, right? If I want to accomplish something, I need something to happen, right? But the way that you treat yourself has a major effect on your outcomes, again, in the way that you think, the way that you take in the world around you. It is almost directly tied to these things. So with that said, I hope you can leave listening to this episode with maybe a bit more motivation, a little bit more drive to be intentional about how you take in the world around you. Maybe you'll sit down and stare at the wall a little bit more every once in a while. Maybe you'll take those 5 deep breaths. Maybe you'll bring more awareness to the situations that you're in. Maybe you'll try working out without the headphones, right? Because you never know what you might pick up on if you can just utilize the senses that we've all been blessed to have, and I don't think enough people truly use. So with that said, a couple ending notes. If you are listening to or watching the pod on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos. Leave a like, because, that would be great. It'd really help me out if you just leave a like, right? And comment what you thought. Love to hear from you guys. I try to reply on YouTube and Spotify and more of the long form stuff way more than the short form. Because if you scroll through a comment section on Instagram, it's kind of hell. But on YouTube and Spotify, and maybe there's some hate every once in a while, but it's more thought out, and the ideas are based on actual long form thinking. So I like going through that and replying to you guys. So if you got something to say, let me know. If you're listening on Spotify, leave 5 stars on the podcast. That would really help out a lot. And you can comment on Spotify too. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and reply back to you. I get a huge kick out of that. Lastly, second to lastly, my newsletter. My newsletter that I put out twice a week is absolutely free. I literally just try and put out as much value as I possibly can. Could be the written form of my running videos that I've done in the past. Could be something that's simply at the top of mind. If I have something cool or interesting or any kind of news to share with you guys, I love to do it through there because it's a respectable form of communication, whereas Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing can get a little bullshitty. So I'll put the links to that in the description, and you can sign up for that for free. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, no phone dinner. You know the drill. If you're listening to the pod in any form, if you can hear my voice tonight when you eat dinner, and if you're eating dinner right now, tomorrow night when you eat dinner, no phone, no computer, no podcast, no music. Sit with your family, your friends, or yourself. All 3 of those are incredible options. Leave some time to take away the noise. Be present. Enjoy a meal, right, that we're all so lucky to be able to have. And with that said, I really hope you loved this podcast because I loved recording it. You guys are the best. I hope you have an incredible day. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Woman, right down the line.